Good morning. Feliz Viernes. Are you muted? Nope.
No.
You're very, very quiet. Good morning, Catherine. Good morning, Lauren. TGIF. It doesn't feel like a Friday. I've been waiting for Friday all week. Yeah. Very little, very low. Can you guys hear Kathleen better than I can?
I can hear you perfect. I don't
Oh,
know
you're
what
good. You're good now, whatever you did.
dust.
Or maybe I turned my volume up.
There you go. Hey, it's
Every
here and
minute.
now. Here and now. Here and now. That's all that matters.
That's really kind of, I play that song a lot, but that's really all there is here and now, right?
All we got.
What's tomorrow? I don't know. It'll be here and now when they get there tomorrow.
Tomorrow's
Right? If there's a house
yesterday.
on the market today and a new one comes on the market that's prettier, nicer, and cheaper than yours, then you're affected by it.
That's
So
right.
everything we do is messing with the here and now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not yesterday and it's not tomorrow. It's today. And
Yeah.
tomorrow we'll reevaluate. And that's the neat thing about real estate, right? It's changing constantly. Right. And our mindset has to be something that changes constantly too.
Absolutely.
So sometimes we get rigid. I talked to a lot of people yesterday, and so many people are so rigid in their thoughts, and you got to go with the flow. What do they say about a blade of grass in a hurricane? It lays down. It's strong enough to bend. It blows over, the wind stops, it stands back up.
Yeah.
Right. But
Right.
what happens to the tree that stands rigid and won't move?
Yeah. That's it.
Done. Right. So flexibility is kind of important to what we do.
It's like
And,
exercise.
and it's how we react to everything. So the
Yeah.
first case I've got for us today, and this is not the first case I've had, it's the first case on the agenda for today, but there's all kinds of crazy stuff going on out there. You know, I'm thinking back to a time when, you know, we were writing articles saying these are generationally low interest rates. You guys should buy now. Generationally low interest rates. You should buy now. For years, guys, this isn't going to last forever. It's going to stop. The music is going to stop. You should buy now. You should refinance now. There was a boom going on. And so it's kind of like nanny boo boo. We told you and you didn't do it. And now we're back to normal. We're not in high interest rates. We're in normal interest rates.
Yeah.
Right.
Very true.
So, but a lot of the customers out there that have houses that they want to sell have these really low interest rates. So there's some, I'll call them sharks. They're not that, well, we'll talk about this in a minute. There's some people out there that are trying to capitalize very creatively, if you will, on these low interest rates. And some of you are going to get offers on your listings that look like this. So I'm going to share an offer that Jim Graff got, and we're going to talk about it. And it's going to be a case study, and you're going to learn a lot about the process and about the law when it comes to mortgages and doing what this guy's trying to do. So I'm going to share my screen and we'll get started. So basic, share my screen, one, perfect. I want to go here first. So nice. This is Jim's been with us for a long time, very experienced. And he says, Craig, I've never seen anything like this before. Here's the guy named Yuri Rostikos from GoGorillas.com. And he's got a full price offer on Jim's listing at 812 Barclay Wood Drives in Ruskin. Hey, Jim, attaches the FAQ about our alternative solutions. Be wary of alternative solutions. Below are our general terms we put together on all of our offers. To dial in specific terms, we'd need the most recent mortgage statement and the price you're looking to sell the property at. How many buyers asked to see the seller's mortgage statement? Nah, something's weird. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not judging, right? I've got an open mind, and this is important. We'll keep an open mind when these things happen.
Right.
Offers always includes the following. We will pay full price for 812 Barclay Wood Drives in Ruskin. We will pay all closing costs and commissions, and the settlement is flexible. We can close as soon as the title search is cleared with a reputable title company, but open to a longer contract period based on what the seller may need. Well, that's attractive.
Yeah.
Like a door concept. We want a 14-day inspection contingency to make sure there's nothing too large for our team to handle. All terms are negotiable. We're willing to walk you through how this works whenever you have some time. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions or anything else. So at first glance, Kathleen, what do you think about that?
Well, at first glance, it's like, okay, it's checking a bunch of boxes. What's the catch?
Exactly. Box one, full price. You're gonna pay closing costs and commissions, and you're flexible.
Yeah.
And all you want is a 14-day inspection. Check, 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 check.
Right.
Box five is what's the catch?
Yeah,
You don't generally send an FAQ along with your offer.
I know.
All right. So we're going to look at the FAQ now. And, you know, back in the 90s, when we started our company, a lot of the precepts we did to get our name be known was a book that was called Guerrilla Marketing Tactics. Right.
Uh-huh.
And that was like putting our name on the side of our boat and parking in front of the office, and just little stupid things that just got attention that were very inexpensive to do, but made a big impact. So guerrilla investments.
Flashback.
So this guy is selling a concept called a subject to transaction. Okay. And this has happened. I've seen this 5 or 6 times in the last month. So, you know, if your seller's got a low fixed interest rate, I mean, if I was going to buy a house today for 7.5 and use it as a rental and it cash flowed at 7.5, how much better would the cash flow be if I could assume the seller's 2.5% mortgage or 3%?
Right.
Mortgage?
Yeah.
Good deal.
Huge.
So what's the subject to transaction? You read it.
Sure. Subject to is a way of purchasing real estate where the buyer takes the deed, ownership. Here it comes. Pay close attention. The buyer takes the deed, ownership to the property, but the existing loan stays in the name of the seller. You catch that?
Yeah,
In
I got
other
it.
words, subject to, I know you do. Subject to the existing financing, the buyer controls the property and makes the mortgage payments on the seller's existing mortgage. I said that slowly for a reason.
Mhm.
Seller's existing mortgage. That's scary.
Hey, Kathleen, I'm going to give you the deed to my house. Would you make the mortgage payments for me?
Sure, but what if I feel like not making them anymore?
Then what happens to my credit?
Bing, bing, bing.
I get a
bing.
late. What if I go 2 months late?
Oof.
What if I go 3 months late?
Now you're looking at.
I've got a major credit problem and I've got a foreclosure on my hands.
That's right.
All right.
Mhm.
Okay. So that's it. I'm not saying it's bad. We're just evaluating each statement as they come.
Heed with caution.
Why sell your property subject to the existing mortgage? Go ahead.
Oh, sure. In a traditional sale, the seller is usually responsible to pay the realtor's commissions, their portion of closing costs, and making repairs based on appraisals and inspections and completed on behalf of the buyer. This type of sale is completely as is with an inspection window. If we find something we can't overcome, I think they mean material, we will walk away. The seller will not be expected to make repairs to the property.
Yay. Box number 6 checked.
Yeah, sure. Seller keeps more money in their pocket. We pay all closing costs and commissions, so your seller doesn't have to. All right, that's another beautiful thing.
Check the box.
Yeah, just like cash with no contingencies outside of our inspection window. Selling your property subject to the existing mortgage does not require appraisals or issues with buyers qualifying for the loan. They apply to purchase your home. Okay. Quick, easy, flexible. We can move as quick as the title company will allow us, or slow as you need to move on to your next property.
Interesting. So let me ask you this. When you see a truth in lending statement, right? You apply for your loan, they give you your things, and what's the what do they call it? The total amount you'll be paying over the term of the loan.
The amortization.
The APR.
Table. APR.
Annual percentage rate. It comes to the total payments you're going to make over the 360 payments.
Right.
I think when I bought my first house, I think we borrowed $120,000 on it. And, you know, the total cost of all payments over 30 years was like $360,000.
Right.
And that was a 10.125% fixed interest rate loan in 1991, construction to perm. So we bought the house for $120,000, but it was going to cost us $360,000 in payments over the 30 years.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that was a 10 and an eighth. So today, to buy a house for $360,000 at 7.8, the total payments are probably $500,000 or $600,000. But if this buyer could assume the seller's 3% loan, it's probably $450-ish in dollars for total payments. So you're really saving almost $200,000 or $300,000. So of course you'll pay full price, and of course you'll pay closing costs and commissions.
Yeah,
you're absorbing that huge savings for the long term, and this is a long-term play. Okay, so that makes sense, right? We'll keep going.
It does. It does. So
number three.
How will I know the mortgage payments will get paid on time? We set up a third-party servicing company, much like what we already do, to withdraw money from our account, make direct payments to the mortgage. Setting up a third-party servicer also shows proof the payments are being made by the buyer, which will allow the seller to wipe out their debt to income on this property with any other lender and double dip. Sellers we have worked with in the past often tell us they hope we miss a payment.
We hope you miss the payment because then I get the house back.
Yeah.
Well, wait till you read number 4.
Yeah. Here comes the good stuff. What happens if the buyer misses a payment? We would use, ready for this, deed in lieu, pre-signed and held at servicing company. The house deed will be immediately transferred back into the seller's name if a default over a 30-day period. Sorry, not year. In this scenario, the seller would keep my down payment, all of my monthly payments, and keep all the improvements made on the property. If I was to be hit by a bus or abducted by aliens, this is how it would play out. That's hysterical.
So they're saying they're going to put a quick claim deed in escrow, and if they miss a payment, the servicer is going to be told, give the property back to the seller.
Yeah.
Now that assumes what? The house has been maintained, it's been repaired, it's been taken care of. It's,
yeah,
the tenants haven't destroyed it because they're going to rent it.
Yeah, it hasn't turned into a mess.
He doesn't address what if I don't make the payments, then you get back a piece of crap house that's been destroyed.
Yeah.
The AC's broken and the carpets are stained and there's dog poop on the floor and all that type of stuff.
And a meth lab in the backyard. Yeah. That's every dream. Yeah.
Number 5.
Who is in charge of holding and paying for insurance? Our team would be responsible for paying your insurance and maintaining insurance on the property after sale to ensure the property is properly protected.
Now, once again, who owns this property?
They do.
They do. So it's a regular HO3 policy. It's just a normal homeowner's policy.
That's right.
They own it. It's just somebody else has the mortgage on it.
Yes, they do. How does this affect my debt to income ratio? Selling your property subject to the existing mortgage. There's a definite way to wipe away a portion of your debt to help you afford your next home. Unfortunately, get ready for this. There is no guarantee due to the many factors associated with qualifying to purchase another home. We know that. We highly recommend you speak with a qualified loan officer who is experienced with sub-2 transaction that can guide you appropriately based on your unique finances. You're on your own.
So we have loans out there for investors called debt service coverage ratio loans, DSCR loans. And what they say is if the house is being paid for, if the rent covers the mortgage, we won't apply it to your DTI, your debt to income ratio.
Right.
So that's the type of loan you'd have to get because this loan is still yours.
Correct.
It's just the collateral behind it is not yours.
Right.
Right. You're relying on some third party. Number 8.
Oh, you skipped 7.
I did. Oh, sorry.
No offense. No, don't be sorry. You didn't do anything wrong. You just didn't see. Number 7, who is responsible if there are repairs or maintenance needed on the property? The seller would not be responsible for any repairs or maintenance on the property after the deed ownership is transferred at closing. The person responsible for any repairs or maintenance would be whoever is on the deed of property. Since the seller's name would only remain on the mortgage and the buyer's name's on the deed, the buyer would be responsible for all the repairs and maintenance. That's a scary thought.
Yeah, well, they own the house, so they got to fix it. Their lease is going to be with their tenant, and the tenant lease is probably going to say landlord's responsible.
Yeah. And that brings to a good point. When they do the lease, they got to make absolutely sure the language is telling that the buyer does A, B, C, D, and E, as opposed to traditional lease, which would fall back on the landlord. So that would
Well, no,
take,
this is the landlord. They own the house.
they own the house, but you got a tenant in there, a buyer.
Yeah, but they're the landlord, so they can draft the lease and
True, true.
any way they want to do it.
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah. Yep. Sorry, I got distracted. Michael was sending us something. 8. What if the value of the property drops? We are not buying the property based on the value of the real estate. We're buying. Well, it jumped up.
I was wondering if you catch that.
Yeah, no worries. We're buying the property based on the seller leaving the financing in place. Just as any sale, once we are the owners, we are contractually obligated to continue to make payments on your benefit to the mortgage, regardless of the house's current value. Number 9 is subject to legal. Yes, it is. Absolutely. HUD 1 standard from the title escrow companies and attorneys, those damn attorneys, used to build settlement statements. Please note lines 203 and 503. The best way to understand the process, this is a cash sale with existing liens conveying. Yes, it is.
Really
The
simple.
Yeah, the IRS has specific instructions on how to document a transaction with mortgages and liens conveying with the sale of the property. Meaning the IRS puts a code of federal regulation for title companies and attorneys taking title subject to an existing loan or lien on the property. Would the federal government put this in the code of federal regulations if it was illegal? That could be a funny joke. We have used multiple title companies with a ton of experience handling these transactions that you can chat about, which to explain how this process is completely legal and above board. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to us anytime.
Okay, so what does that make you think?
It's all making sure that buyer really pays every month. That's my biggest concern.
It's an alternative solution.
Yeah.
Okay, but what I don't understand, let's say, and every situation is different. So I'm not saying this is bad.
No.
But there are some things that we need to know about.
Yeah.
Basically, in every single loan document, there's something called a due on sale clause.
Yes.
Okay. Due on sale means when you transfer title, the entire mortgage balance is due.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're violating that statute. Now, that doesn't mean the servicer is going to come after you. As long as the payments are made, they don't really give a hoot because they already pocketed that money aside for 30 years. So it's not necessarily they're going to come hunting you down because they don't really want to foreclose on you. They just want to collect your payments and get their servicing fees. So it is a violation of your loan to transfer title if they caught you, right? But they probably don't really care because all they want is the payment. So as long as the buyer makes payments, it's fine. Right. What I don't understand is, let's say the house is worth $360 and I owe $250. Are they going to write me a check? Let's say the closing costs are 40 grand. 360 minus 40 is 320. So I got a net of 320. I got a balance of 250. Yeah. Where does the other 250 to $90,000 come from? They write me a check for 90 grand and pay my closing costs. That could be interesting, but they don't see that. It's kind of like they're looking to take a problem off somebody's shoulders, but we don't have a lot of problems out there.
No. That
people need this for.
And
so this becomes a desperation type of situation.
Yeah, and I'd be concerned with FHA and VA loans because I'm almost positive that acceleration clause would kick in. I think there would be problems with those two type of loans.
Well, it's one every loan, VA, FHA, and conventional have due on sale clauses.
Yeah, but I think the VA, from my past experience, is a lot more aggressive about coming after it and exercising that clause.
This is a fancy way to do what's called I just had it, wraparound mortgage.
I was thinking that. Yeah.
Right.
Just thinking.
So
that.
Is it an option? Yes. Is it a good option? I think there's a better option out there. I would rather sell my house, get my proceeds, and then give the title. There's too many things can happen. If they miss a payment, I'm the one who's going to lose the house. I've already lost the house. I gave the title away. Yes, they're going to give me the title back, but what condition is going to be in? It's just risky, right? Depending on the situation, if the house has been on the market and the seller's not getting any action and they're in a hurry and it's desperate, it's a gamble. And Kathleen, what would I say? Who should the seller talk to before they accept something like this?
Well, they need to talk to their attorney. They need to talk to their current mortgage lender to see what other terms that might be available to them other than this.
Ooh, good idea.
I think they ought to explore a lot of different types of loan programs. Really do your due diligence. This is just a backseat option. And there's still hard money lenders out there. The interest rates might be harder, but you're not going to have as many of these potential bombshells, if you will. Again, it's just something last resort. If somebody was on their deathbed and it was $1 million plus house and they couldn't unload it, because the higher the price, the harder it is to sell in certain markets. So this could be something that would work really well for a really high-end property, or somebody that's got a condo and they just need to unload it right now and they don't have any time to wait.
Mhm. Lauren said, I've received similar offers on my listings, red flags all over. Got to give them an A for effort. I like it.
Good point.
Mike says, understand the veteran guaranteed mortgage and the buyer assumes the mortgage. The buyer fails to pay, then the veteran gets the home and the mortgage back. Well, you got a couple things in there that are not necessarily true.
Yeah.
They're not assuming the mortgage in this situation.
No.
The seller retains the mortgage and gives the collateral away.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So when the mortgagee goes and sues the mortgagor, there's no collateral to go after.
No.
Which is going to piss off the lender.
Exactly.
But in this thing, they say, we're going to give you a quitclaim deed pre-signed. So if we miss a payment, the escrow officer's agent is told to give you the deed back. And when you get the deed back, it's in whatever condition it's in. Now, what if they put a new roof on the house and didn't pay the... So this is where attorneys become valuable.
Yes.
And they also become deal killers.
Well, thank you.
They go, what if?
Yes.
What if I hired a roofer to put a roof on the house and I didn't pay him, and now he's got a claim on the lien?
Yep.
And then I give you the deed back, and now you've got a deed
Yep.
that has a lien on it.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to pay that. So now you're kind of screwed there. There's just too many what ifs that happen. So when I talked to the attorney about this, he said, look, this is, it is possible to do. It's just a desperate situation. So I wouldn't rely on it as a hook. But if you had a desperate situation, this could make sense in certain areas, right? But you're going to see these coming across.
Or you did this with one of your kids.
Yeah, here, take my kid. You put your last name on him, and if he acts bad, we'll take him back.
You know, I was just thinking for probate planning or estate planning, this might not be such a bad idea. You know?
What if a renter moves out, the squatter moves in? Well,
oh,
that means that buyer, the owner of the house, which is this guy, not you, that owner has to evict him, or he just throws his hat in and says, here's the deed back, now take care of it.
Any and all tenants, eviction time.
Because he collected all his rents.
Yeah.
And he's probably paid back.
Mm.
And then you get a mess and you got to clean up the repairs. The only creative finance deal you want is assumable mortgage. Yes, assumable mortgages are fantastic in a market like this. If you got that, that's a golden goose.
Very true.
Or that's a golden egg anyway.
Yeah.
Those are clean. Yes, there's way too many issues that can happen with a deal like this. It's a desperate move.
Yeah.
So,
but it's good to talk about because it's out there and not everybody's going to have a chance to really go over something like this. So that when you do get hit with this, you're like, oh, I remember we talked about this in such and such class. Wait a minute, let me go back through this again so I can explain it to my seller.
Yeah. So when you guys come across these things, if you don't feel comfortable, call one of us. We'll help you go through it. All we did was read it, and we just have a little more experience in what can go wrong.
True.
Right? What's the worst case scenario, if you will? And there's a lot of worst case scenarios that could happen here.
Yeah.
What if they don't maintain the insurance on your asset?
Yep.
It's not your asset anymore. It's their asset.
Well, and it goes
on. But you've got the collateral.
Yeah. Oh.
It's just a little risky. It sounds, what's the old saying? If it sounds too good to be true,
it probably
is. Now, could it work out perfectly? Yeah, it could. I still don't understand. I've never seen one actually where it goes through and talks about how they get the equity. If they're going to write a check for the equity and the closing costs and all the other stuff and the commissions, that would be less risky because I got my equity out at least.
True.
Right. But I still signed on that note for the balance of that mortgage, and they're going to come after me, and I don't have the collateral unless this guy defaults, and the title company or the servicer gives me the deed back.
It's a new style of hard money lenders, if you want to be honest. Truthfully, this is another spin on what hard money lenders do, except
Well, it's called arbitrage.
yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's if I could
No.
borrow money at 2.5 and lend it out at 8,
Yeah,
then I'm making 5.5%. I do that all the time.
those are better odds, that's
Right.
as Vegas will get. Yeah.
So my credit line, I've lent money to other people, but I charge them more than I'm paying.
Oh,
So
sure.
really, it's just clear profit to me.
Right.
And that's arbitrage. I'm trading on other people's money, and that's what they're doing. They're trading on your money, but they're also trading on your credit.
Yeah, exactly.
And
That's what
I don't
hurts.
want somebody else in charge of my credit.
No.
Mhm.
No.
All right. So is that clear enough? It's complicated. Now, how many people, for sale by owners, for example, are being preyed on by people like this?
Good point.
Right. So that's where another place where we bring value is by helping them cut through the mud and see it for what it is. Right.
For sale by owner workshop and educating them on the pitfalls of this, that would be a great opportunity.
That would be a great video.
Right.
Hey, let me tell you a story about a man named Jed. Let me tell you a story about an offer we just got.
Yes.
Where the investor wants to take the house and leave you with the note.
Yes.
And he's going to rent it, and he promises to make your mortgage payment and taxes and all that stuff. And you're good. They'll pay all your closing costs and you walk away. What about your equity? They don't know. So that's where I bet you these type of letters are going to for sale by owners in mass amounts.
I bet they are. We could update our Moxie and
not to be judgmental, but what type of markets do these people prey on?
Well, we already know the answer to that.
Yeah, it's the elderly population. It just sounds good to be true. And I'm sure there's really nice guys, they're really friendly and all that type of stuff.
And they get snookered.
Yeah, and it's not illegal. There's nothing wrong with it.
No, it's not.
It just has pitfalls, and they should be evaluated to see how strong they are.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what they need us.
So I can close this one out.
Yeah, this is a good
So
one.
if you got this, now you know, whoa, red flag, let's think about it. Now, is this a written offer? Let's go back to the inbox. Hey, Jim, attaches an FAQ. There's not an offer.
No. It's an incentive to invite you to an offer.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
So the question is, do you have to present this?
I would let my seller know and explain it to them.
100. I mean, if it says we have to present all written offers, this is not a written offer.
Correct.
This is an invitation to receive an offer.
Right.
But I don't think you should be judge and jury and decide for the seller if he wants to see this offer or not. So the answer would be yes, please present an offer and I'll present it to the seller. Because you don't know, does the seller always tell you the truth about their financial, the pressure they're under?
No, I have a great story I could slide in here. It'll take 3 seconds, literally. Okay. I represented this wonderful man who was a retired doctor who was insisting on a certain price on a listing out here that I had in Bradenton. The house was $1 million+ house. I'm not taking anything below blah, blah, blah. Fine. I continued to present all offers that came through, even though he said, I'm not going to look at it if it's under a certain amount. Well, we had one come through that was under a certain amount. And he called me right away. He goes, I'm taking it. He didn't tell me things had gotten so bad financially. We closed. Long story short, he says, I'm so glad you ignored my instructions not to tell me anything underneath a certain amount. I said, I would never ignore anyone's instructions, particularly somebody I've known as long as you. And all my sellers see everything that comes across the table because I never know what's going on in your personal life. And I'm not going to get up in your business unless you invite me to do that. You and I are like family, and I still didn't do that. So the moral of that story is, and this man's a doctor, they have a lot of pride that things went south. And instead of him feeling embarrassed about it, I made him feel good about it. I made him talk to his family, have that decision, that conversation, came back. We closed Christmas Eve. I'll never forget that as long as I live. Mm-hmm. Just never know how, and it doesn't matter how high they are up on the food chain. Ignore all that. That's just window dressing. They're
good at doctoring.
Oh, yes, they are, but not themselves.
I'm good at realtoring.
Right.
So when I need doctoring, I go to a doctor. When I need realtoring, I go to a realtor. Hell, I
Yeah.
even second guess myself.
We all do that. We
Right.
all, yeah, we're human.
For when it comes to realtoring.
Right.
And doctors get second opinions on themselves, right? If I got a heart problem, I'm a
Absolutely.
lung doctor. I'm not going to treat myself.
No,
There's
no.
no shame and embarrassment in that.
So,
Okay. So remember Yuri Rostikos with gogorillas.com. And he's not a fraudster. He's just an investor trying to come up with alternative solutions to take advantage of what was once a really hot real estate market with super great interest rates. If he can keep that going, power to him.
pretty clever.
We need to get our sellers to understand what the risks are. Right.
Absolutely.
And then I said this earlier, and I don't want you to be afraid of this.
Mm-mm.
It's okay. Please consult with your attorney. Now, we have our listing agreement says we are obligated to present all written offers. The seller gives us an exception that if it's not in writing, we don't have to present it because we check that box. I pre-check that box for you. Right. So, but if it's in writing, you present it. I would consider this to be in writing. It has to be presented. You can't just unilaterally say because you don't know what the really think.
And when we're talking about in writing, let's remind everybody, please, please, please don't put it in text messages. There's nothing that irritates me more is to see counter offers and terms and stuff going back and forth into text message. I will go ballistic. Text messages are not part of the contract. You want everything in your email for documentation. We have in the documentation of those emails at the bottom that this is privileged. There's a reason why we put that in there. So God forbid, if something happens down the road and we're in a court situation, they're going to have to get a court order to get our emails because they are privileged. Are your text messages privileged? No. Phone records can get subpoenaed so fast they'll make your head spin. So please, 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 please. I know I say this every time, but inevitably somebody's going to start putting some terms about a contract in a text. And I'm going to say, this is ridiculous. I want an email. Put me in your .loop. Thank you very much. I'm trying to be difficult. It's to protect you. That just saved you $500 for your legal advice. So take it and run with it.
There you go. All right, let's go into number 2. Item number 2 for Master the Contract. Now, we did some really cool stuff last week, and you guys made a lot of nice comments. Megan did a great job.
She did. She did.
Donna, I think, was her name from Fidelity National, about the commitment letter.
Yes.
And what that covers. And I wanted Megan to share this. It just didn't flow into the way the class went last week, but I'm going to share you what we went through. And this was an agent who wrote this deal, and the buyer lost some confidence in the agent, and I got involved and reinstilled some confidence and really went to the mat for him. So I'm going to go through that because this is stuff as we go into this new reality where I believe we need to be more cognizant of demonstrating value to our buyers and sellers. Because let's face it, guys, we're charging a lot of money.
Yeah, show your value, right?
And as these houses go up in value, our commissions get bigger and bigger. And if we don't sharpen our skills, we're not going to get paid as much. So we're going to miss out on that ride where the prices are going up and our commissions go up. Our prices are going to go up and our commissions are going to stay the same or go down. And that's not what we want. No. Right. So we got to demonstrate value. And sometimes, and this is going to come up on the 29th, we're going to have buyer conversations class. Right. And we're going to tell you how we handle things. And then we're going to encourage you to practice that. So when these things happen to you, you can handle it on your own. Right. And that's the ultimate goal. Of course, we're here to support you. Right. But I'd rather you think on your feet and just demonstrate value, because that's where these relationships are going to build and compound, and how that customer is going to be a raving fan and refer lots of business to you.
It's all about showing your value and demonstrating it and follow up and consistency, because without those factors, what do you have? You're just another realtor.
And it's not what you know, it's who you know to get some of these things done.
True. Very. Right? Yes.
And that's why I'm a stickler, and you guys don't like it when I say this, but if you're living in Orlando and you're asked to do a market analysis in Anna Maria Island, it's probably not a good idea.
No, you don't know.
You don't know what's going on in Anna Maria Island. No discount. You could figure it out. But we had an agent, and I'll bring this up. We had an agent who quit yesterday, which I should have fired him. He is an Orlando agent, and he did a broker price opinion on an Anna Maria home for a wacky person. This woman's wacky. Should have been a red flag. And he charged her $300. He charged her $50 for a consult and $300 for the price opinion. And he had the check made out to him. Okay, I'm not being a jerk. I just know Chapter 475.
And he's
You're
not a
not allowed,
broker.
you're not allowed to collect commission from the public.
No.
Any payment for real estate services has to go through your broker by Chapter 475 law.
Yeah.
So here the guy violated the law, and he took 2 weeks to get the price opinion. The buyer prospect didn't have an email address, so he had to snail mail it. It didn't come in time, so she calls me pissed off because she gave my employee, she said, $300. Well, first of all, you should have given me the $300, not him. And first of all, he shouldn't have taken it in the first place. Right. So there's all kinds of little stuff out there that we get sucked into. My point is, having local knowledge is important. You know, if I need something, if I had something in Longboat Key, I'm calling Jesse, because he knows what's going on in Longboat Key on both ends, north and south, and what assessments are in place. And they just buried the underground power, and there's a special assessment for this, and this condo is going through this, and this one has a problem with her. He knows all that shit.
Right,
I
just
don't
like I
know.
know downtown. Yeah, I know
Yeah.
downtown Sarasota. I own property here, so you would call me on that. Right. The
So,
codes, the
and-
rules.
and so we'll get into this as we go through, but this is where sometimes when you guys come to me and say, I want to do this out of market deal, I'm going to caution you and say, you're better off either doing a 50% referral and learning that market with somebody else who's going to protect the customer
Yeah.
than
team
you are
up
to
with
try to
somebody.
take on the task yourself for something that's just long term.
Yeah.
It's a better practice. Right?
Team up. And the other reason why you want to make sure the money always goes to the broker, because you're going to have your E&O insurance deducted from that. And that is going to protect all entities as long as it's not gross negligence. Here are those two magic words: gross negligence. If you do something that's tortious conduct or that's illegal, E&O does not cover any of that. You're on your own. So just
Right.
think about it, please.
All right, sharing screen again. Excuse me. This is the one.
Oh yeah.
Scanning for viruses. Be glad we're scanning for viruses.
That's right. We don't want cooties.
Okay, so this is a house which is for sale with an agent with Charles Ruttenberg Realty, which, you know, I'm not a fan of. Not that they're bad people, but
No support.
they don't train their people. And this agent's from Orlando, and he's the brother-in-law of the seller. This house has been a vacation rental, very successful vacation rental. It's coming fully furnished. And the buyers somehow lost confidence because there's some shady things that have happened. And this is a community called Bay Vista.
Mm.
And there's 19 homes on Tampa Bay,
Mhm.
and they're 50-foot lots. You can see the houses are pretty close together.
It's a pretty area.
It's beautiful, and the houses are spectacular.
Yeah, they are.
So we got the survey, and the buyer's paying cash, $2.3 million.
Well,
A really cool guy. He's in the data business. He's got underground cable installations, like for Frontier and all that other stuff.
sure.
And he's paying cash for this house. And when you pay cash for the house, if you don't pay cash, if you get a mortgage, what does the bank require?
Survey.
So this guy took it upon himself. He's closed in 10 days. This is a cash deal closed in 10 days. It's fast. But he had gotten all this stuff taken advantage of and had a survey ordered, and he's using our title company, which is fantastic because I can get things done with our title company that I can't get done with other title companies. So the survey's ordered and it comes through, and here it is. And this is where, once again, we need to provide value.
Mhm.
Right? So I know as a new agent, you get a survey and you pass along the buyer, and they don't know what the hell it means. They just don't. So as a rule, what does red denotate?
We got problems.
Danger.
Yeah,
So
up at the top.
there's a rule that I know of because I work in this town. Once again, I work in this town, and I know there's a 25 setback from the lot line for a dock on both sides of the property.
Right.
So if this is a 50-foot lot, if I come in 25 feet on this side and I come in 25 feet on this side, how much dock room do I have?
Not what you think you do.
None. So this community went and they decided they're going to put shared docks. right? So down the center of the property line, this dock goes out 303 feet. That's the break. This red zigzag is a break line because the dock really goes out 300 feet, right? So it's not shown that they own the bay bottoms. So this dock is here. And the buyer said, is this dock legal? Well, this is where I happen to know the former president of the association. So I called her and she said, yeah, we did all this right. There's a second amendment to the HOA docs that explain how the docs work. Well, neighbor over here met prospect here and said, hey, by the way, those boat lifts are illegal.
Oh, God.
Welcome to the neighborhood. Because this has a boat lift out 300 feet out. And then it's got 3 jet ski lifts on here because it's a vacation rental house. And they can use his jet skis and they can use his boats and all that stuff. So this is in question. So I called Megan at the title company and she went through and she found all the documents that explained how this works. Thank goodness. So it's amendment 2 to the HOA docs. We got those and it clearly said docs are allowed by the HOA. It also clearly said that you can have 1 boat lift per side. Nothing about additional boat lifts. So I'm telling the buyer all this and he's not liking what he's hearing. Right? It's supposed to be easy. The seller told him it's all taken care of, but it's not in writing. So we went to the HOA and had the HOA write an exception letter that those boat jet ski lifts were grandfathered in. And they did it. And it worked out. We got it the day before closing. So the dock issue, the red here, caused the flag, and we had to look into that, and we did, and we solved the problem. Then we got this issue here. They put concrete stairs into the bay, which they don't own. So that's going to be an exception to the title policy. They're not going to insure that because it's improperly done.
Right.
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 And then down here in red also, platted easements, notable or adverse conditions, unplatted easements also listed or provided by client. If applicable, recipient blah, 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 the survey should review the position of any fence lines shown hereon and their relationship to the boundary line. EPC protection, EPC is environmental protection. The paver walk crosses the boundary line on the southwesterly side of the lot as shown. The 10-foot utility easement along the southern boundary line of the subject lot. The wood deck and paver walk crosses the boundary line on the northwesterly side of the lot as shown. Driveway extends through the southeasterly easement. The concrete stairs crosses the boundary line on the northwesterly side of the lot as shown. And the community sidewalk crosses the boundary line on the easterly side as shown. So these are saying, hey, these are going to be exceptions to your title policy. And that's what it is. So these red lines here are saying, hey, your paver driveway is crossing the line. All this sidewalk, this is supposed to be a 5-foot drainage easement, and there's pavers all the way along it.
Oof.
And you see the pavers encroach and they go onto the neighbor's property here.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, are these deal breakers? No.
No.
I guarantee you my neighbor just put pavers so he can drive his golf cart from his house along the side of our houses.
Sure.
To his house. And I know damn well he crossed my property line.
Sure. Of course.
Because he didn't measure it, he didn't survey it. I don't care.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
so I had that.
You know the former HOA president, and you know the moving directors, if you will, of this particular subdivision. That is huge, because if somebody had tried to list or sell this and let's say their broker that listed it was from some other area, they would be lost and it would tank. That's where being localized knowledge is so important. And anything related to the communities that you're in, especially Apollo Beach, you need to reach out to Craig because he knows this inside and out. When I bought my F Street properties, I picked his brain before I put all that money on the table. Let me tell you something. It was gold. It was money in the bank. I got a lot of good advice from him, and that was over 15 years ago. So I'm putting that out there because somebody else wouldn't have done or been able to do what you did because you got the localized knowledge.
Yeah, and if not, I know who does.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why it's so important. You guys are getting a master's degree level of education, and it's not for Symphony Isles or Apollo Beach. It's for you to learn that kind of knowledge about where you're working.
Exactly right. Yes.
So I'll just tell you what to look for, and you got to look for it. So they're showing us, and when the buyer went and did the walkthrough on his own, he was happy as a pig in poop because there's a cruise ship going by. And that's pretty impressive when you see a cruise ship going by, you know, within 500 feet of your house.
Yeah.
It's big, right? But when he was there, this neighbor over here went and picked up the fence and moved it in 6 inches.
There's always a neighbor. Oh.
So just stupid little things like that. But, you know, talking them through and saying, is this a big deal to you? Worst case, you'd have to pull up these pavers.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's been there for years. Nobody's been complaining about it, but you are encroaching on the neighbor's property.
Yeah.
But the title commitment's going to say there's an exception to this policy. We're not going to cover a title defect here because you're encroaching on the neighbor's property.
Yeah, those schedules, they're critical to look at when they get emailed over to you.
Especially when you get to these big houses. This is a 5,000 square foot house on a 50-foot lot.
Yeah. Wow.
It's a lot. What else is in there?
Yes.
So the dock was illegal. The staircase is illegal. It's not supposed to be there, so it's not going to be covered under title.
Right.
The dock share agreement, we got documented from the HOA to make the buyer feel more comfortable. The buyer moved the fence on their own. The neighbor moved the fence on their own. Buyer didn't really care. And he understands the risk of the pavers, understands they've been there for years, and he's happy to deal with it. And so when you get a survey, this is part of the job, and we're going to cover these things next week, not next week, the week after next, when we do buyer conversations, but this is your knowledge, right?
Yeah, and Land Tech, very good. I've used them for years. I'm very happy with them.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, it makes a big difference when it's Paramount, because basically I get whatever I want when I ask.
That's very true. And Megan's wonderful.
With high priority, and so do you, with high priority, as opposed to somebody that you don't know. Poor my daughter Jessica's just closed on her house, and the title company, not the lender, chose the title company because it was a refi.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
She said they were horrible. You know, she was she had to clear to close last week on Wednesday. We could have closed Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. They pushed it to Wednesday of this week for some reason, and they had to clear to close the week before. You know, and then there's no communication whatsoever.
You know, that's really risky business, especially with rate locks. It's very frustrating.
Yeah, that's a good reputation, right? I work this town.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, better err on the side of caution, because all money is not good money. Yeah, this guy, Chris and I were talking yesterday, and what do we write down? Look, would you rather it blow up before closing, during closing, or after closing?
Before.
100%. If it blows up before closing, nobody did anything wrong, and there's no
That's
damages.
Right.
If it blows up during closing, then you spend a lot of time and you're not going to get paid.
Right.
And if it blows up after closing, now you're dealing with lawyers and E&O companies, and it's just a bloody mess.
Yeah, no, you know.
So it's common sense, and it's the opposite of what I call scarcity mentality. Oh, I got to get this deal done. It's desperate. I got to get it. That's scarcity mentality, right? Yeah. So that's when deals get screwed up because you're desperate on them.
You have to keep the emotion out of it. That's the name of the game. There's no 911. There's no blood. There's no surgery in real estate. We repair deals, yeah, we do, but we're not going to get all emotionally wrapped up and balled up in it. It's not because we don't care. If you get too emotionally involved in something, you lose sight of your focus. You end up just going right off the rails, and that's where we pull you. You know, and those of you with those big S's, I understand, but us big D, C's, we're going to pull you back off the rails. We're going to get you off the ledge.
So all these little nuances make a difference in the way you're perceived as a professional real estate person.
Truth.
And that's why I want, going into 2024, I want you guys to be the shining stars that just look out and say, oh my God, look at those Vegas agents. They're amazing. Right. And that's pretty much the reputation we've had for a long time. And because we talk about things like this that most people don't talk about. Right. I doubt there's many brokerages talking about survey encroachments and how.
Not on a Friday. No, they're asleep at the wheel. They're eating. They're out somewhere.
All right. I'm going to switch gears on this now.
This is a really, really good example.
We talked about you can't accept money from anybody but your broker, right? For real estate services. So take that one off. We talked about blow up before, during, and after. My last topic is going to be, while we're still sharing screens, this.
Yes.
The critical date timeline.
This is
I'm going to propose to you that going forward into 2024, as we have to demonstrate more value, I know it's an analytical trend, and I know I'm an analytical broker, and I know some of you aren't and don't appreciate that as much as maybe you should, but we make it pretty simple, right?
Yes.
Going over this type of stuff with a buyer. Now, of course, if they're a high D, they don't have the patience, go through it quickly or give it to them, let them read it on their own time. If they're a C, embrace everything about it.
Yes.
And if they're an S, they're going to take their time and listen to you, and they're going to trust you to get these done. Now, that's the important part. They're trusting you to get this done.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're using a PA or a TC, they do this stuff for you. And it's worth every penny, whether it's $200 or $400. I don't really care.
No.
Right. Get this stuff done and cataloged and calendared so you don't miss them. And that will send your referral business through the roof. Because I don't want them saying, you got to use Kat, she's so nice. No, you got to use Kat. She's a badass and she's got you covered and everything's going to happen the right way.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, Lauren just said the same thing. Use your PAs, they load it for you. And they
I love my Chrissy.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely adore her. Oh my God, she's
it's still your responsibility.
Yeah.
But if I have an assistant, I'm responsible for my assistants when they do something wrong. You are too. So you got to check them. It's not like a gift. You just close your eyes and go la 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 la. No.
Yeah, no, that extra set of eyes. Oh my God. I remember one time she caught a deal for me. I'll never forget this. It was a few years back. February is a short month. And I had a bunch of closings going on at that time and travel and you name it. I was doing it. And she caught the fact that I would have had the closing on the wrong date. It would have landed on a Saturday because February is a short month. I'm like, and from that day forward, I'm like, okay, you're mine forever. I think that was, I don't know.
The contract covers it, but it makes you look kind of silly because you should have caught it.
I was in a hurry, and that happens. We're all human.
So I want to close with this. The critical date time, there's only so many critical dates, right? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 critical dates, right? The effective date, the expected closing date, the escrow deposit due, the additional escrow deposit due, which you should do, the additional deposit due. Sometimes there's more than that. How much it's going to be, that's not a date. Loan application due, loan approval due, and inspection period ends. Those are critical. And they're not hard. They're easy to calendar. That's all you really need to do it. In this particular form, Bob Pasquarello wrote it with his pivot tables and stuff. And it's amazing. All you do is fill in the yellow lines and everything else is done.
Yep. And it pops to your Gmail, especially when you have your transaction coordinator. It'll go to your Gmail. You can't, I use not just your Gmail, but your Google Calendar. And that's critical because that sucker will just bing, bing. And you're like, oh yeah, let me check with so-and-so. The more busy you are, the more you're going to depend on that calendar. You have to have that.
You have to. You can't do substantial amounts of business without it.
Yeah, right. Google.
So the second part of the critical date timeline is this: seller and buyer obligations. Right? Now think about this. If you're a single agent to a buyer, which many times going forward we're going to have to be in order to get paid, I think that's going to be one of the things the buyers have to learn about. The blue colors on this form denote what the buyer is responsible for. Right. And these are conditions that they could be in breach of contract for not doing.
Correct.
And I'm not trying to scare them, but I'm going to put it on their calendar and say, hey, you got to notify the seller of written loan approval or declination no later than Wednesday, April 13th in this example of 2022.
Yes.
What happens if they don't?
Got yourself.
They waive their financing contingency and they can't cancel if they don't get a loan.
Yep.
That's a pretty important date, right? And so let them know that you're going to be watching this date and you'll remind them as the time comes up and their loan officer, and you got their back.
Yeah.
Right? So that's not a lot to talk about. That's easy. Buyer, sir, I hope you guys agree with me at this point. No option. You get a survey when you buy a piece of real estate.
You absolutely. And when you're a listing agent, do not have your sellers sign affidavits of the survey conditions. They are not surveyors. Don't get roped into that. Buyers go get their own survey.
Yep. So the buyer has the opportunity to have a survey done within that period of time. And if they look at the survey, which they're going to rely on you for, or the title company, you can bring in your assistants for this. You got to notify the seller of the survey defects and give them time to fix it. So if the fence is off the property, they got to move it or have it moved. So those are nice little things. Once again, if it's going to blow up before, during, or after closing, call it out because they have the right to cancel if they find out their flood insurance is going to be high.
Oh.
And a lot of our buyers are from out of state and don't understand what flood insurance is. And when they really do find out what it is, it's going to be a problem. Now, they've got the right to cancel. And if we had proof that we gave them a notification of that right and they didn't, and they find out their flood insurance is going to be $10,000 a year, sorry, dude, what else you want me to tell you? You signed the friggin' form. I told you about it.
Right.
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 Home inspection. By all means, if they don't do a home inspection, what do we want? A waiver of home inspection.
Right.
Right. And the home inspector, once again, if it's going to die, I want it to die before closing or during closing, not after closing.
No.
Because once they close with the crappy sewer lines, they own crappy sewer lines.
That's
and
right.
It's going to cost them $8,000 to fix it. And I don't want them coming back to me saying, Craig, why didn't you tell me about this? It's a 1958 house. Right.
You got it. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And we have teams of attorneys out there that love to sue realtors for sewer line issues.
Buyer's inspector, the wood destroying organism. People are not from Florida. I've well, not anymore. I took the wood out, but I know I had termites in my driveway. They were feeding on that wood. It was rotten as hell, right? And that would have been called out. But they have a right for inspection to get. So we need to coordinate that for them. The title company will do it, but you got to tell them to do it. And then permits are something that are important. You know, when I sell my house, I got to talk about permits, and you know, there's some challenges there. But if I tell them about them and they agree to them, that's fine. Or they can walk away, blow up before, during, or after.
Yep, and certificate of occupancy. Sometimes the new home construction doesn't have CO yet. You got to have it. You
guys have been here. Some of you have been here for a while. You've seen the cases. There's one still going on, I think, in Terra Verde, where the seller sold a house, like the garage first floor and then 2 floors above, and they represented it as a 3-story house with the first floor being living area. And it was a multi-million-dollar house, and that lawsuit, I think, is still pending.
It is.
And somebody's going to lose their license over it.
Yeah, they are. They are. It's really
so the permits are a big deal. And
they
then
are.
the walkthrough is, you know, once you take possession of this house, it's yours.
Yeah.
So that's an important thing. And it's no later than the day of closing. So the day before or the day of closing.
And have your buyers sign off on the walkthrough inspection form. It's in the template dot loop. Make that part of your activities on every single closing. You want that in the file.
So these are all activities that are obligations and rights that the buyers have that we should make them aware of. So once again, when they refer you out, they're referring you because of your skill and knowledge and dedication and caring for them as a consumer, not because, you know, you gave them a home warranty or whatever these other goony people are doing, right? And then this is just smart to say, look, you know, this is not a perfect world. There are some errors that can happen. If the CFPB, you know, you got to be disclosed 3 days prior to closing. I just financed somebody for something and it became a refinance, and there's a 3-day right of rescission. So I was expecting my money back on the day of closing, and the title company said, you're not getting it till next Monday. Well, what the hell am I not getting it for next Monday? Well, they closed on Wednesday. There's a 3-day right of rescission, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Well, that's not 3 days. Saturdays don't count because it landed on a holiday. So Monday is the next, that's the 3rd day. That's the right of rescission. So they can send me my money on Monday, right? Because of the right of rescission. So that CFPB is you have to get your closing disclosure 3 days prior to closing. And if you don't, you can extend closing.
Yep.
So that's it.
It's federal mandated.
Yeah. There's not an option. It's just like, it shall be this way.
You don't pick one. No.
It's written on the tablet.
You know, if anybody has any trouble with walkthroughs, I've done this a few times with my agents. If you've got a seller that's really difficult and is pushing back on your walkthrough, and you got a buyer who wants everything categorized, don't hesitate to reach out to one of us. I did that with one of our agents on Longboat Key. His seller was so happy. He wrote a beautiful, I'm not seller. His buyer was so happy that we had categorized. I'm talking over 80 things we categorized. The 2 of us teamed up. We got it categorized. And that buyer wrote a beautiful review, and he was a pain in the neck from another state. And he was a practicing attorney from New York. And, you know, they brought me in and I was able to calm them down, and it went beautifully. So don't hesitate. Let us know and we'll be there for you.
So number 2, force majeure. If there is a problem, you get an automatic 30-day extension.
Correct. Yes.
10 days if the buyer discovered some work needed to be done and it required a permit, and the final permit is not done by closing, they can delay up to 10 days to get that permit closed out.
That's right.
And it's just nice to know. And I love this one. if up to 5 days if the seller fails to timely deliver a title commitment to the buyer. So that's just a nice thing to keep in the back of your head. I promise you one day it'll win you some respect to know how that goes. Right. So that's just some of the things I think we should talk about, and having our master the contract knowledge, right? And the more you pay attention to this stuff, the more confident you're going to feel, or the more competent you are, the more confident you're going to be, and it's going to exude from you, and customers are going to appreciate you even more.
And it really makes you feel like you've got insurance on the deal because you've gone through all your due diligence with your buyers and your sellers. It makes you shine that much more, because I know for certain most brokerages don't do this.
Look at this. Yeah, it's only 5 days for title and cash deals. It's 15 days for mortgage deals.
Yeah.
Elizabeth is my winged gal. Chrissy is my second pair of eyes.
Same here.
Where do we find this? It's probably in Google Drive.
This is in .loop template.
Yeah, this automated one isn't, because we can't have automated forms in .loop.
Yeah. But this one is.
Lauren says it's in .loop. There you go.
Yeah, we use it. Yep.
Just type in critical. It'll pop right up. You might
That's
have to do it
right.
manually though.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, this is fun.
Today is
all.
Friday. Why don't
It
you give us a
is.
quick recap? We got 1 minute, and we're 1 minute over, but what did you do yesterday?
Oh, yesterday we had Easter Seals Happening House. We served Thanksgiving meals to over 200 families and their children, students at the center. This is the most rewarding thing you could do at this time of the year, is to be able to give back to the community, something very meaningful, spending time, giving your time. There's an old saying, the gift of time is the best gift you give anybody, especially Easter Seals. We support Easter Seals all over the United States as Century 21 brokerages, and we're helping making such a huge difference in the families, in our communities. There are families that, if without the Happiness House, which is a school that provides classrooms for infants, I'm talking infants 6 months old, preschoolers, high schoolers, and beyond. It's such an enormous necessary resource. So our dollars that we're spending on our closings are so much appreciated. And yesterday, the president of Easter Seals was there, and he gave us all hugs. He says, Century 21 Bankers has always been one of our biggest supporters. We couldn't do what we do without you. So for the agents that came out yesterday, and I want to give a special shout out to Alini De Harajo. She brought her daughter, Valentina, and her son, JP, I'm sorry. And they served. Put it on Facebook. The videos are adorable. That little girl who was all of 6 years old, putting gravy on people's mashed potatoes. It was wonderful. It felt great. When you leave after a function like that, you just want to go back and do more. It gets into your heart, your whole soul. There's nothing better.
Well, kudos to you and your team for doing that.
Yeah, I'm very much grateful to them.
All right, guys, it's Friday after 9:30, so we're going to close it down. And happy Friday. Have a safe weekend. Get ready for Thanksgiving next week. And remember, real estate still happens. Answer your phone, return your calls, check your emails, reply to your text.
That's it. Happy Friday.